Well, I'm Bishop.
And I'm Dr.
And
Steph.
thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Our Life, Our Journey.
Our truth.
We're so excited to have you connected on today, and make no mistake about it, we are really geeked about you being a part of this platform. We don't take it for granted that you are connected to us in this place. And of course, I thank you so much. People are really connecting in this space and letting us know every single day. We want to make sure that you definitely comment, like this page, and
share and subscribe with your friends and family, and get them to subscribe as well. We're really, really trying to build this community up.
Help us do that. So we thank you so much for that in advance. It means a lot to us, and we hope that you'll do that, and we appreciate it. While you're at it, make sure you follow Dr. Steph at Dr. Steph Walker out there on Instagram and all her social media platforms. Follow me at Joseph Walker 3. Let's stay connected. Let's do it, guys. It is an exciting time for us to just continuously bring content to you. And also go to josephwalker3.org. Get our book, Becoming a Couple of Destiny, and also get your merch. Hey, Couple of Destiny shirts and Connected by Destiny and all that cool stuff. It's out there. Get yours. Let it be a blessing, and we appreciate you so much. And do this, take a picture and send it to us. We'll post it. Put it in our story that you're rocking the gear. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it so much. Let me tell you, today's topic is going to be good. Going to be challenging, but good, and challenging in a good way, because I think it's something that is certainly right in the midst of culture now, in the midst of a lot of people. That is, how can we disagree without disconnecting?
Yeah.
People oftentimes struggle with disagreeing because we rest the case on our point of view.
And rest your whole life on your point of view when you disconnect, right? Like, it's almost like people don't understand that disagreement is normal and natural.
And in some instances, healthy.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
It's just about how you disagree. I think being around only people who think like you can be dangerous to your growth and development.
I agree with that.
As just a human being, as a mature person, you need to have people around you who will challenge you, who will push you, who will disagree at times, and I feel like that's what sharpens you, because it makes you either research your point or, get a better understanding of what you're trying to say, and even if you agree to disagree, you've then gained an additional perspective on whatever that topic or conversation or issue is. So it just makes your world a bit bigger, if that makes sense, as opposed to having like a narrow viewpoint.
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's important. I think sometimes when we look at disagreements, it's like, either, my way or your way. And, if there's no middle ground, I think the idea of disagreement is not so much to convert a person to your opinion, more so than to grow and learn from the differences of opinion about the situation.
Yeah, and just hear that there's another perspective, whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah. And no matter how, you may feel it's extreme, or you may feel it's, just it bewilders you. The person can have that kind of perspective, but you can learn a lot from that. I think first of all, I think even in just relationships, right? There are opportunities even to learn and grow through disagreement in relationships. We learned it early on. We talked about it in our book. We learned
that early on, but it took us a while to get used to the disagreement.
We didn't disconnect though.
No, we didn't disconnect.
We did not disconnect. We worked through the disagreements. And that's okay though, right? Because that's where growth is. Would you say that disagreements, working through the disagreements, is where you mature? It's where you learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's where you learn. It's where you get stronger. I feel like it's where you find ways to come together even closer. Once you get over the humps of the disagreements. I think that, especially in relationships, marriages specifically, when you come to disagreements, I feel like those are simply growing pains, because if you're disagreeing, that means that maybe this is an area about your spouse that you're not familiar with. And so you're really learning each other through those disagreements, whether it's something that he didn't say before you got married, or, a story that they never told, or a perspective that they never shared, or, because part of it is, when there is a disagreement, getting to the why behind the what, right? Because sometimes when we were disagreeing early on, I didn't understand that it wasn't just him being crazy. It was him having a certain perspective based on either how he was raised or an experience or something that happened in the past. And that helped me get to know him better and also helped me become more empathetic, as opposed to angry and frustrated when we disagreed.
Yeah, and I think the initial response could be very. I mean, he crazy. I get it. Like
Yeah.
I probably came up like he crazy. You know,
Like,
she
what is
probably
wrong with him?
what's
I
wrong
didn't
with
bargain
her?
for this,
I
Jesus.
I
What's
did the
going on
same
here?
thing. Like what is this? What is she? But I do think that as you're serious about learning the
Mhm.
other person and understanding where their perspective originates from,
Mhm.
like it does go to what happened to you. It
Mhm.
does go to understanding, the origin of this thought
Yeah.
process and the things
Yeah.
that gave rise to it. And I think that
Mhm.
can help a person kind of know these thoughts are not just random, they're
Yeah.
evolutionary, they have
Mhm.
evolved over time. And I think that, one of the things though that we've learned, and she says it and she coined the phrase, um, is that do you want to be right or do you want to be married?
Do you want
And
to
at
be
the end of the
married?
day, it's not so much about scoring points or one up in the other
Mhm.
person. It's about how can we agree to disagree
Mhm.
and yet still be civil
And stay
and stay
connected.
connected,
Mhm.
right?
And I think part of it too is we learned how to disagree fairly.
Oh,
He doesn't always do it. We don't always do it. I'm not saying that we're perfect in the way that we argue,
mm,
but we
that's good.
learned how to
Be fair.
safely argue, if that makes
That's
sense.
good.
So like we're not in a season of yelling and screaming and being combative. It's more like, hey, this is how I felt. This is what happened. This is how it made me feel. Or, honey, I saw when you did X, Y, and Z. Did you think about blah, blah, blah? And then sometimes I'll even have to say, like, this is not an argument.
Yeah,
This is not me coming down or
yeah,
being combative.
sure.
This is just me trying to understand what happened.
Yeah,
And then that helps to like de escalate so that we can have
that's
civil
for sure.
discourse and have a simple conversation about it as opposed to someone being defensive and feeling accusatory or accused rather and like, feeling like they're being attacked.
No, that's so good. That's so good. And I think that's how relationships mature, how they grow. And I think that,
Mhm.
rather than weaponize, a person's perspective against them,
Mhm.
use it as an opportunity to gain revelation about that person and their perspective and learn and etc. I think
Mhm.
that's great. I do think though that it not only exists within relationships, I think it exists within, just other areas as well. We see
Mhm.
people, when you think about just people disagreeing about certain political positions or
Mhm.
theological positions,
Mhm.
whatever, social issues,
Yeah.
it becomes so polarizing, right? We become so
Yeah.
so disconnected.
And it clearly doesn't have
It
to
doesn't
be.
have to
It
be
doesn't have
because
to
I
be.
don't have to agree with you, right, to love you. I don't have to agree with you to support you.
Mhm.
And I
Or
think or
respect
respect your
you, your
opinion.
views, your values, your
Oh
religion, your thought.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you see people afraid to even share.
Have a conversation about
Yeah, because
anything.
they know it's gonna create this whole
Yeah.
thing, and so much
Mhm.
vitriol in the world right
Mhm.
now.
So sad.
Yeah, it's so sad, and I think
Mhm.
that you have to be open-minded. I think
Mhm.
that to grow as a person
Mhm.
and to evolve as a leader, you have
Mhm.
to, create, an opportunity to be exposed to different thoughts and ideas. The
Whether
thing
you agree with them or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the book club, you should subscribe to it, be a part of it, sign up right there at book club 78228. Text that right there. But listen, next level leader book club. We're reading 25 books in 2025. And the vision of that was to create a catalog of consciousness. Every book that we read, some of those books, man, come from authors that, I wouldn't necessarily follow to the T, their particular positions about everything, but there's a lot you learn
Mhm.
from their perspective. You learn a
Mhm.
lot from, how they thought about certain things, and you put all that in the skew, and you're like, wow, it helps you become a well-rounded reader, a well-rounded
Mhm.
person. And I think that's how you grow. And we live in a day where I think people want to determine kind of this is only what you can learn, only what you
Yeah.
can read, only what
Scary.
that's scary. You want to
Mhm.
have a wide range of exposure
Mhm.
so that you can even if you disagree with it, you at least are exposed to it. You're not in a
Aware.
shock value of it, And that's so important.
And I think when you have that type of disagreement where, disagreements become hateful, what it ends up happening, and you can, feel free to chime in. Like, I feel like it creates such rifts where people are then afraid to talk to one
Yeah.
another. And then you begin to, the respective sides begin to tell stories to themselves
Yes.
about the other,
Yes.
right? And then that's when the fear sets in, and that's when the rift gets greater. And then that's when the hate boils over, because now you've got these imaginary stories about people that you don't know nor do you understand, because you haven't communicated, because you've created this rift. And it's like this vicious cycle. So the rift gets bigger, the hate grows stronger, and you find yourself in an environment like we're in today. And so I would just encourage everyone to be a little bit more open-minded, and not open-minded in the sense that you have to change your position or your perspective, but just willing to engage in conversation in a civil way. Like, that's how we grow, that's how we stay together. And I feel like even when you're having conversations with people, even when you disagree, I'm willing to bet you can find more that you can agree upon
Yeah, you can.
than you disagree upon, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's good, man. That's a good way of looking at it. I think that is that's the key. I think that's what makes healthy communities. That's what makes healthy families. I think that's what makes healthy school systems and healthy everything. And I think for us, like we like to translate that in our own personal lives in terms of like we think about there are things that we have very strong convictions about
mhm,
individually,
mhm,
right? And we don't always agree
mhm,
about the way a thing should be, but we've
mhm,
learned how to find that middle ground and how to coexist in our disagreement. Wow,
mhm,
let that sit in. Can
mhm,
we coexist in our disagreement without disconnecting and
mhm,
saying, "Well, because you feel that way, I just can't." No,
mhm,
it's not a monolith here. It's an opportunity to be diverse in opinion and thought and to love a person in all of their complexities. And I think that's what makes relationships better. That's what makes culture better. And
mhm.
and to not downplay or to demonize or to make a person feel that their thought and what they feel about a thing is minuscule to yours, to create
Mhm.
this superiority kind of
Yeah.
complex where, well, this is a higher conscious, a higher thought, and
Mhm.
that's
My
ridiculous.
opinion is always better and more
Yeah,
important and whatever.
no, no.
Mhm.
I'm always learning from people. I'm
Yeah.
always trying to get it. Mhm.
Well, and I also think it's so important to put yourself in position to be around um, a room full of people, um, at least half of which, or a good portion of which, don't agree with you necessarily,
Yeah,
or let me rephrase it, have different perspectives.
good.
Let's just say that. Because I feel like that's how you grow, that's how you become better, right? Like, I remember being in a conversation with someone, and it was clear that my disagreeing set off this, you
Trigger.
know, 5 alarm fire alarm in their mind that I was attacking them. And I just didn't grow up in that way. Like, I grew up in a way that everyone at the table has a right to their opinion, and your opinion is just that, it's your opinion, and we can sit and we can talk about it. Or if I put forth an idea, my expectation from the table, otherwise I wouldn't be putting the idea out in front of people. My expectation is all those people that are sitting around the table who are listening to me present this idea, what I want from them is to pick the idea apart
Yeah, it's good.
and to show me where the gaps are, where the deficits are, where the strengths are, so that I can then take that information and build whatever it is I'm trying to build to be better, to be the greatest that it can possibly be. But if everyone around the table is saying, yeah, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard, and you're so right, I will never be able to be the best.
Yeah,
I will never be able to grow. That
yeah,
thing that I'm trying to birth will never come to fruition the way that it should be, because the people who are looking at it and can see gaps aren't saying so, because they're afraid that I'm going to think that they're against me in
that's
some way,
good.
shape, or form. And I don't want that kind of environment, want to be in that kind of environment that's not conducive for growth. I don't want those kind of friends. Those friends are not really for you if they're not willing to speak life into you in terms of being able to say, hey, sis, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? It's not saying, oh, that sucks and you shouldn't do that and you're crazy. It's about how they present the errors of your way to you as well, but like being comfortable in an environment where people are able to disagree with you and you can receive that. That is a level of maturity that we should all aim for and not be so caught up in being stuck in environments where everyone around us agrees. Because if that's the type of environment that you need, I feel like you probably have a little bit more maturing to do.
Yeah. Ooh, wow, you said a mouthful there. One of the things that I tried to do, and I tried to minimize my conversations around religion with people because it's
Hmm.
such a polarizing topic. People have very strong convictions around what they believe and what they don't believe, and
Hmm.
back and forth. And I'm a bishop in the Lord's church, and I clearly know how to contend for the faith and clearly defend my perspective theologically. But what I've been in situations where I've seen people so adamant about their perspective and trying to
Hmm.
dismantle, deconstruct
Yeah.
someone else's faith and
Yeah.
all of that
Yeah.
to affirm their own. I don't think
Hmm.
anything's healthy going to come out of that, right?
No.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. I give you two big words. I want you to go research, and one word is called hermeneutic.
Hmm.
Hermeneutic. Look it up. Go Google it. It's interpretation of, and the other word is hubris, 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 which is the word for pride. And the thing that I think that all of us could do ourselves a great service is that when we approach the Bible, to approach it with hermeneutical humility and not hermeneutical hubris.
Mm.
Because when you approach it with hermeneutical hubris or pride, you feel that my interpretation alone
Is
is
the
right.
only interpretation and it has to be
Jesus
right.
ran
Yeah.
into people like that who were the law says this should
Hmm.
be this
So
way. The
concrete.
law says, and
Hmm.
Jesus like, listen, you've heard it said of old time, this, but I say unto you that.
Hmm.
And people have a difficult time seeing a different way, understanding that. And I think it's just important. I'm always learning. You know, I got a doctorate, in what I do. But I'm always
Still trying to learn
learning,
all the time.
still
Hmm.
trying. I'm never to the point where I
Hmm.
know it all. I
Like
want to
The
approach.
Bible can be manipulated by
Oh,
anyone to support any idea that
listen
they
to
want
me.
to
And
support.
and honestly,
Hmm.
I'll tell you a secret. I know, but I'll just say it right here on our Life by Jedi Truth. Some of these interpretations that people try to like feel like that they're the only one right and you wrong are comical to those of
Hmm.
us who really know the scripture. But
Hmm.
we just tolerate it, and you
Hmm.
don't just demonize them. Just sit back and listen. Like, okay, I understand you feel
Hmm.
strongly about that, but how you're misusing history and misusing words and
Misrepresenting.
misrepresenting, it's unbelievable. And
Hmm.
so you just have to let that be. The diversity, I think, and the
Hmm.
complexity of the world is what makes the
Hmm.
world the world. But
I think also just being willing to learn. Like he says that he avoids religious conversations regarding religion. I actually don't avoid them. Like I
that's
find that
because I'm a bishop. People always think, okay,
no,
it's different. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and I think for me, when I find someone who is of a different faith, religion, whatever, I just ask them questions.
Yeah.
Like but I admittedly say, I admit that I am fairly ignorant of blah, 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 and I would love to learn more,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
Like, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? And of course, I'm not walking up to like random strangers looking like a cuckoo, but if it's someone that I know or a friend or, someone, a parent, like my kid goes to a school where there's a little bit of everything at the school.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I will sit down and have a conversation with some of the parents about what their beliefs are and help me understand, like, what does that mean? Like, I'm not familiar with that, so that I'm not walking around in ignorance. Like, I want to learn as much as I can. I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to want to go worship with you or go do whatever you're doing. But it is my responsibility as a human being on earth to get as much information about the others who are around me so that I'm not walking in fear, walking in misunderstandingly or in ignorance purposely.
Yeah, and I think to that point, I think that ecumenical engagement is
Yeah.
important, right?
Yeah.
having an ecumenical, interest about what other faiths believe and how they
Mhm.
practice is
But
helpful.
you've also studied
I've
that too.
studied that, and
So
I'm still engaging
you're
in those
definitely
conversations.
well, way more
And I'm
versed in
engaged in
other
those. I'm
religions than
engaged in
yeah.
those conversations. World
Mhm.
religions. I'm always engaging with
Mhm.
people about that. Imams. I'm
Yeah.
talking to
Yeah.
my Jewish brothers and sisters about
Mhm.
various things, and I learn from them, and it's a
Mhm.
wonderful thing.
But this conversation clearly also transcends religion,
Yeah.
right? It's
Oh
about
God.
anything that you're not familiar with, as opposed
Politics.
to running from it, hiding from it, just sitting down and getting a very basic understanding. Like even at my kids' school, there's something that's where they sit down and they have conversations about difficult topics that are going on in the world and conversations that are taboo at the Thanksgiving dinner table, right? That, that might cause a huge upheaval and argument or what have you. Well, they're teaching these kids about civil discourse and coming together and gathering the information and sitting down and, sitting at these hardness tables and agreeing to disagree, but being able to give everybody a voice, right? And I think that's really the crux of this is, can we agree to disagree without me turning my back and my feelings are hurt, or because you disagree with me, or I hate you now because you disagree with me, or because you disagree with me, you're a heathen, or you're all against me because you disagree, as opposed to saying, we disagree. And we disagree because you have a different perspective and a different experience.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's okay. Let's go grab lunch now, or let's go grab a cup of
Period.
coffee, or let's, move on with our lives without feeling hateful towards
Yeah.
one another.
No, I agree. I agree. And so, it's not so much a this or that. It's not like because the world wants you to be,
Mhm.
Protestant or Catholic or
Mhm.
Jew or Gentile or red or blue, in terms of that.
Mhm.
It's not about that. It's about let's just learn to live in humanity and learn that we can continue to grow and learn from each other, even in our relationships.
Mhm.
Let's learn that God brings us together as couples of destiny,
Mhm.
that we can glean and learn from each other's experience. I'm a Louisiana boy raised in Shreveport, Louisiana, who married an LA girl.
That's
And
right.
I had to learn a lot about LA culture. I had to learn a lot. I feel strongly about leaving my door open and being family oriented. She come from LA like, bruh, you don't
You
leave
gotta
your door
lock the
open, bro.
door
Don't you
and
pulling up to the gas station like that? Because she is, so we have
he pulls up to
different.
the gas station and gets out of the car and like leaves the door open and the car running.
It's from the South. We
You
just,
from a little
yeah.
place where no one does anything.
Yeah, see all
But
the
he's
Shreveport
not
people.
though.
See?
Like he's from Shreveport. It's
Yeah.
just like street sense.
Yeah.
Like
But
this.
we see how we disagree.
He's learning.
But again, it's just like, we have to learn each other's ways of being and coexisting
Yeah.
in those different
But
things.
I also think too, like especially now shifting back to relationships, like the devil knows where our weakness is.
Yeah.
And he knows and understands that if he can create a rift or create a
Yeah.
fear,
Okay.
then he can easily split the two of you up
Easily.
and prevent you from becoming the couple of destiny that you're meant to become, right?
Right.
And so even in these disagreements or arguments or what have you, he's not even after you, he's after the destiny that God has brought you together for. So you also have to look at it from the spiritual standpoint of, why are we even having this conversation, right? And why is this thought even coming into my head about disassociating myself from you when I clearly love you and I've loved you, but suddenly I have this much disdain because of this conversation. Now I'm ready to walk out. Why is that?
Yeah.
What is that seed that is being planted and why? It's not even about this conversation. It's about something much bigger, much greater. And so just remembering that and understanding that if for no other reason you fight and you stay for the destiny that God has on your relationship.
Boom. Couldn't have said it better, babe. Well, I hope this conversation has been a blessing to you guys. And I hope you can, have those conversations even if you disagree. It's okay. It's not the end of the world,
Not
man.
the end of the world. Not
you
hardly.
can learn a lot. Just don't get disconnect because you are couples of destiny. You are people of destiny, leaders of destiny. And we want you to walk in that destiny. So thank you again for tuning in on this particular platform called Our Life, Our Journey, Our Truths. And we appreciate you. Make sure you follow my wife, Steph Walker. Follow me at Joseph Walker 3, and then put in the comment section your thoughts. I'm curious to know, how did you work through your disagreements? And maybe you have a question for us. And you're dealing with something now. Put it in the comment section. We'll get back with you. We thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, I'm Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Peace out.